Hello, dear lost person on the internet. I assume you're lost. Why else are you here? But since you are here, maybe you would like to learn how to properly fail at photography. Why am I naming this video like that? Well, if you stay around, you're about to do just that. So, first of all, several housekeeping items. There will be for sure some random noises coming around me because I'm recording in the middle of the day from my living room and my family is at home. So I don't have a very good control over what is going on around me right now. You have to bear with me here. Another thing that I would like to mention is that there will definitely be rough cuts in the video, and this is because I'm basically winging it. There will be stupid things I say, so I'll cut stuff. But anyways, why are we here? Well, everything started with this picture here, as it says, taken on 30th of April 2023. I went to this waterfall in Belgium. It's located right here. This is the name. Don't ask me to pronounce it, please. It's French. I don't do French. But anyways, I went to this waterfall. I took my pictures, and even initially I noticed this swirl over here. But I was nevertheless focusing on the waterfall. And when I got home, I looked at the pictures. I thought that I should do something else and focus on the swirl right here. So I got back there, and this is now November 2024. So last year from when I'm taking this video. And I did focus on the swirl here, also those nice streaks happening here. But again, I was not happy because it was November. The sun was quite low. So I didn't get the light that I wanted here. Like, it's kind of nice that it falls here, but this is completely in the shade. So I checked and I determined that I need to go back April or May in order for the sun to be high enough for me to be able to take this shot. And if you look at the previous picture, again, 30th of April, very nicely lit. This will be a common theme if you want to shoot waterfalls. They are normally in canyons, and because they're in canyons, you need the sun to be high up there in order for you to have some light. And this is very much not what you normally want to do when you're doing photography. You don't want to shoot in the middle of the day. That's a bad idea, but with waterfalls, we take what we get. So, several things that I would like to mention here. First of all, it will be what gear I consider is absolutely mandatory in order to do pictures like that. And I will show you what I use, but that doesn't mean that that's not the purchasing advice. On the contrary, my gear is quite old and some of it is quite crap in some respects. So first of all, obviously you need a camera. So I'm using the Canon or however you want to pronounce it, EOS R. This is a mirrorless full frame camera, and in some respects it's insanely good. In other, it's actually not really good. So this is the first entering of Canon to the mirrorless world. And basically what they did is they took the sensor of EOS Mark V, the latest edition of that, and they just transferred it into this mirrorless camera. And the good thing about this is that this sensor is absolutely amazing. It's full frame, 30 megapixels, and the quality of the images that it produces, just insane. There are a lot of pitfalls of this camera, but this is not a review of the camera. So moving on. Outside of the camera that you need, and it has to have interchangeable lenses. Let me make this very, very clear. You need to be able to change the lens. And the reason will become apparent in a second. So the lens I'm using with this camera is this small thing here. It's Tamron 17-35, the second edition, the DI or SD edition of this lens. And that's important because the first one, as far as I know, kind of sucks. But this one is stellar. It's f2.8 to f4, so it's a variable aperture lens. It's very cheap. I got it for 350 euros, basically brand new. And yes, if you're new to photography, that is cheap. I'm sorry to say that. But it's a great full frame lens. It's extremely sharp. If you're shooting, even when you're shooting wide open, it's extremely sharp. At f5.6 is basically a brilliant lens. Then what you need to shoot this window. What you need to shoot slower during the day, it's a neutral density filter, otherwise known as ND filter. I have a kit of those. The only recommendation I will give you for the ND filters is make sure they're slim. And the reason for this is that you can actually stack them when they're slim. If they're thicker, you can only use one filter before it actually starts getting into frame, especially when you're shooting wide angle lenses. So when you have slim filters, you can actually stick two of them together, and that gives you more flexibility. But if you don't want to spend money, then just grab one, and that one should be 10 stops, because you absolutely need it. This one has a party trick that the 6-stop filter has a circular polarizer, and that is also an extremely nice thing to have. I wouldn't say it's mandatory, but it's extremely nice to have. The other thing that you absolutely need is a tripod. This is what I use. It's called Rollei C6i, and it's, I think it was carbon fiber, if I remember correctly, or fiberglass, something like that. It's very, very light. The only thing that weighs on this thing is actually the head, which is made out of stainless steel. And it's a really nice tripod, but I have a small issue with the head where one of the bolts that actually locks the left to right movement, even though I tighten it up to the maximum amount, it doesn't, it still rotates. It should be locked in place, but it does not lock. It's not that big of a deal because that's one axis that I don't care that much about. I can stabilize it. This part is the important part, so it's fine. And another thing that it depends if you need it. So this is a remote shutter release. I don't use this one. I use another one, but it really doesn't matter. All mirrorless cameras, or at least most of them, have an application for your phone. You can even use your phone as a remote shutter. The important part is that you have a way to shoot for more than 30 seconds, because that's kind of needed. Now, this is the waterfall. Unfortunately for me, I live in a part of Belgium that is flatter than my brain, which means I have exactly zero nature around me. So if I want to go anywhere and do anything, I basically need to drive a lot. And this waterfall is 230 kilometers away from me. So going there and back, do the math, 460 kilometers. And it takes about 5 hours just in travel. It doesn't matter where you live. The chances are you need to move places. So you probably either need a car or you need some way to get there via public transport or whatever. Just keep this in mind, that photography, unless you are in studio, involves travel and movement and massive amounts of patience. So that's the intro. Let's move on. So this waterfall, I took this picture. I wasn't happy with it. So I came back and as I said, I like this one a lot more. Like it's there is such a thing as too much, meaning slowing the speed over certain amount makes the waterfall look weird. Uh, for this amount of water, that probably even to maximum 3 seconds would have been the ideal shutter speed. However, if we look at the settings that I showed that, this is a minute of exposure. I shot at 17 millimeters. For a full-blown minute at f10, I don't remember what combination of filters I used, but I'm pretty sure that the circular polarizer was not on because you can see the massive reflections in the water. Anyhow, what is the problem? Well, the light is the problem. This could have been done a lot better. And what I did is I used an application called PhotoPills, which is an application for your phone, which is insanely useful if you're doing photography. It has so many nice things in it. But one of the really interesting parts for this specific scenario was that you can put augmented reality on and it will show you the position of the sun in relation to you in specific times. So what you can do is, first of all, just check where you can see where the sun is, obviously, when you are there, and you check if at any given time the sun will be in a position where it will give you the light that you want. And obviously in November that wasn't the case. But I was able to, you can change the date. So basically what I did is I went to April, I went to May, and I saw that during those months the sun is high enough. And it's not only high enough, but you can see actually at what time you need to be at the location to catch it where you need it. So that's kind of an important thing. Another thing that I need to mention, and I'll mention it now, just there is no debate over it. We shoot in RAW. Like you do not shoot JPEG, you do not shoot TIFF, you do not shoot anything like that. You shoot in RAW if you want to do photography, and you will have to edit. This is basically how it is. So long story short, I got into my car at around 9 a.m. I knew that if I'm there at around 11:30, 12, even 12:30, it will be fine. So I started driving. I arrived around noon, and lo and behold, there was not enough water. And I recorded a very short video at the location that I'll play now. But just so you see, this is the waterfall. This is, by the way, completely unedited. This is directly from the camera. And you can see there is very little water flowing through it. And because there is very little water flowing through it, it cannot make the swirl over here. So the whole point of me going there was completely ruined. But do you remember the title of that video? It is called How to Fail at Photography Correctly or Properly. I don't know yet what I'll put, but it's one of the two. Why did I fail correctly? Well, I will tell you after playing the quick video that I made while I was at the location. So, you can either hear me or not. This is the waterfall. Obviously, not enough water. What I wanted to do is not really possible, but I met nice people here. And it's a lovely day, so hey, next time. And here we are again. So, let me elaborate. Basically, the most important thing for me when
I do photography is not the end result. And that may sound stupid, and you know what people that fail a lot will say, but it's actually completely true. So for me, this is a hobby, and this is very, very important. I do not make money from it, and I do not attempt to make money from it. I do not push to make money from it. Don't get me wrong, if National Geographic comes tomorrow and says, here is 20,000 euro, give us that picture, I will be more than happy to do so, and I will be very proud of myself. But if it doesn't happen, whatever, I'm not pushing for that. I have turned my first hobby into my work, and it's very important for me to not do the same with photography. So for me, the drive to the location, the time spent in nature, the people I meet, the editing process afterwards, like everything comes together to provide an experience. And the picture at the other end of it, it's a really nice bonus to have. But it is exactly that. It's a nice bonus to have. So what happened is I made two great people named Christina and Lucas over there. Um, we had a really nice chat for an hour. We were just sitting there chatting while I was waiting. I don't know for what. Just spending time, basically. Uh, and it was great. It was a really well spent time. I came home. I was tired as hell, of course, because I had to do some other stuff. So I was driving for like more than 6 hours. Uh, you can imagine I was quite tired at this point. And this picture I'll never use, probably, for anything, apart from for this video, because what we will do now is I will show you that editing is not, how should I put it, a bad word. It is extremely easy nowadays. It's very, very easy to do. And some of you that are not really experienced will look at this and say, "What's the problem?" Right? It's fine, and yeah, it's fine. But every picture that you see um, in Instagram, in the net that you say "wow" to, like all of them are edited. It's just the name of the game. You have to do it if you want to get the results that you expect. So let's go and do that. So we just right click here in this is Lightroom and this is Photoshop. You can probably use different software. I'm not familiar with any different software, so I work with Photoshop, and I don't do my edits in Lightroom. I basically just put my pictures in Lightroom, and kind of that's it. So, oops, and I'm already failing. Critical part, when you are opening, you say edit in, open as a smart object. Not just edit in Photoshop, open as a smart object. Why as a smart object? Well, here we are in Photoshop. You will see some panels that are probably weird. We are letting them out of this because that's some of it is advanced stuff and some of it is irrelevant. So because this is a smart object, if I now double click on that layer here, what will happen is I will get into Camera Raw. And this is where we do most of our editing. And it's very, 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 very simple. I promise you that much. So Photoshop has added a couple of features lately that do this like trivial. So first of all, let's walk over it. You have auto, black and white, and HDR. Now, HDR is very special, but it requires you to have a proper HDR monitor. And I would say that apart from very few exceptions, only OLED monitors are proper HDR monitors, and they're extremely expensive. And if you are rich enough to have one, congratulations. I'm not, so unfortunately I cannot use this. Hopefully one day. Next thing, we go to Profile, and it says Adobe Color, which is where we all used to work just with Adobe Color. But they have added something called Adaptive Color. And what this does is normally, if you analyze the picture and if you do some changes, and you can see how the picture changed. Was there a way? Yes, there was. No, there wasn't. There we go. So this was the before, this is the after, and you can see slightly better. I mean, it does look better. It's not by much, but it doesn't need to be by much. The important part is that it gives you a good starting point. So you can see the sky is richer, the water is a bit better. Anyways, how do I get rid of it now? Thank you. Yes. Moving on. Everything is sorted by tabs. And I haven't gotten rid of it. Okay, hold on a second. Yeah, so remember when I told you there will be a lot of cuts? Well, there will be a lot of cuts. Anyhow, so you need to decide if you're going to start with Adobe Color or with Adaptive Color. It's completely up to you. You can even go to like Adobe Landscape and see how that looks. Just pick something that makes sense. I will start with Adaptive Color because that's usually a good place to start. And you can even move the slider here where you give a bit more or a bit less. See how it changes. Let's just leave it in the middle. There we go. Now we go to light. And here we have some of our most important sliders. So just looking at that picture, I would say it's a bit bright. It's a bit too bright. Those rocks are way too bright. So probably minus 0.25 on the exposure slider will help. There we go. So notice how the picture is what we call flat. Like it doesn't look that good, right? If you put it at 0, it kind of looks better, but it misses something. There is no pop to it. Let's add a bit of contrast. See what happens. So that already helps, right? Now what we want is those shadows to be a bit more visible, because right now we cannot see it. Pay attention here. So we are at 0, there is nothing there, and we just push a bit. See how everything comes up. We don't want it to be like washed out. We don't want this. But we want for people that are looking at the picture to at least have an idea what's there, right? So this is more or less what I'll do in this panel. I will then go to the color, and here there are a couple of tricks. So first of all, I normally shoot at automatic white balance. And that means that the camera does it best to get the white balance correctly, but it's not always very good at it. So you can see some of those sliders are already somewhere. What we can do is take this color picker here and find white or neutral gray area and just click on it. Look at what just happened. Suddenly everything is very different, but it's a bit too greenish. There is too much green in it, so I need to find a place where it will get rid of it. Maybe use the slider to get rid of it. There we go. That makes me a lot happier. So now we have this nice golden color from the sun, and especially here, down here is great. Now we can emphasize this by just increasing the color temperature, you see, but that's too much. You should never overdo it, or at least you should understand when you are overdoing it, because sometimes that's fine. Now, this is basically the last one that I use a lot. And this calls the effect tab, and you have texture, clarity, dehaze, and vignette. I never touch a vignette because I do my vignette in a different way. Texture is useful if your picture is a bit too soft. This is definitely not the case here. It's not too soft. But if we bring up the clarity a bit, what it will give us, it's micro contrasts. Like, look at what's happening when I increase the clarity slider. It really helps the shadows. It really helps these darker areas. And then you can check the dehaze, because that's also quite often does nice things. But now I just notice something that we'll need to fix. And the last thing is where it says optics. You make sure that those are clicked. So this is user profile correction and remove chromatic aberrations. For this specific lens, this does nothing, because that lens basically doesn't have chromatic aberrations, but you can see what the user profile does. So I have something called pincushion distortion, which is very common with wide angle lenses. It looks a bit like when you get a pincushion and you push on it, the distortion it gets. This is why we call it that. But the profile correction basically fixes it. And my lens also has quite a lot of vignetting in the corners. You can see how it lightens those up. And more or less that's it. Now we need to work on specific areas on that picture. So we need to fix the sky. Sky looks like crap. One thing we can try and do, I don't think it will work, but we can go to the color mixer. And you can see you have multiple tabs here. You have hue, which means that you can shift colors into other colors. So you can grab with the greens will be extremely visible in this picture. I can grab the green basically and shift it into the blue. You can see what it does with the foliage, right? That's stupid. Don't do that. It's just an example. Sorry, it's just an example. What I want to do is make this blue sky lighter, because that's insane. That is way too much. So I will go into the luminance tab, which controls the brightness of the color. And again, I'll show you with the greens. If we push brightness up, see how the foliage like pops. And if I push it down, it gets just a bit more dull. So what we want is to try and fix the sky by making it lighter, and it looks like garbage. That will not work. Damn it. Still a little bit might help. Aquas. Nope. How do we fix that? Well, one way we can fix it is by masking it. And this is one of the great new features that Adobe added. So first of all, we have subject, sky, and background, and it does a great job distinguishing between those. But just now, literally today, I noticed they added this landscape thing. What the hell is this landscape thing? Well, if you click on it, you can select sky, mountains, water, vegetation. It's just amazing, and it will mask what you need. So right now we need the sky, and you can see how it highlights it. So it recognizes it, it highlights it. So I need a mask. So what will this mask do? Well, any correction that I do now, they will only be relevant for what is masked. So if you remember, I decreased the exposure, and that kind of probably screwed it over. So if I now instead increase the exposure, like that looks better. That already looks better. We need to touch something here, not really. Oh my God, I'm making it worse. which is also kind of normal when you're doing those kind of things. So don't worry about it. Just the whole point that we are trying to achieve here is to make sure that that thing doesn't look weird. That this is all we need. Something like that, to be honest, good enough. If you're wondering, let's go back. And this is where we started. And this is where we are now. And okay, so let's do that again. Okay, and I somehow the before became Jesus. I'm terrible at this. I really need to learn better. And I just screw up everything. Hold on. And we're back. And all I needed to do to fix the sky or not screw it up was not to screw it up to begin with. So instead of minus 0.25, I did minus 0.15, and that actually avoided the issue. But you can see here is the unedited picture, and here is what we did so far. And we're not done yet. But once you get the hang of it, that literally takes you 2-3 minutes. Again, so far. So let's continue and finish it up. So now there are a couple of things. Those rocks are way too bright. Back to this thing. So let's do something about it. Go to the filters again, to the masks, sorry. So we need to mask everything but the water. And if you remember, you have subject, you have sky, you have background, and you have landscape, objects, all of these things. But how do we tell it? Well, a couple of things. In this specific case, if I tell him to select the subject of the picture, Photoshop should be smart enough to figure out that the waterfall is the subject and select it. Let's see what happens if we click on it. There we go. It is definitely smart enough. It's questionable if we need that part here masked, but let's not get too bogged down about it. So now I'll grab the highlights, not the exposure, the highlights, and I'll start dragging the slider down. Oops, and I'm an idiot. I was trying to show you something else. We have masked what we don't want to edit. We want to edit everything but this. So we need to click on those three small dots here and click invert. And now everything but is selected. So if I revert this, you can see how everything is selected but the waterfall, the rocks here, and to a small extent the rocks here. So now if I pull the highlights back, you see how the rocks, they don't become darker, but we are cutting on the highlight. That's kind of what we want, really. So the shadows still don't change at all. You can see that the shadows don't move, but the really obnoxious brightness, which is this is 0, right? It's way too bright. So once we pull it, we get actually quite a lot of detail back into the rocks, and we don't really touch the water here. So now, if we are happy with this, which I think I am, we need to make another mask and do some things with the water. And what? I don't know yet. Let's play around. So let's select the landscape option, and let's tell it that we want the water. And you can see how targeted this selection is. It's actually quite impressive. I'm shocked that it recognizes it so well. So we want this. And it will show you the mask until you touch any slider. The second you touch even -3, it just disappears. But keep in mind, it's still there. You can see it up here. If you point at it, it will show it to you. So we definitely don't want to reduce the contrast, go away. Now here we might want a bit of highlight, actually quite the opposite, but maybe not. Let's see what happens. You see how you get details, and that's because if you have too much highlights, especially in the water, you have a lot of reflectivity, and it tends to blow up. Like it tends to reflect too much light towards the camera, and it's just basically what's happening. It's overexposing itself, which loses the light. See what's happening if I push it. So let's go down to the point where we see the detail the way that we want to see the detail, something like that. I think it's quite nice. So all the way to -47. But now we want contrast. So we want the shadows to be crushed a bit. So if you move the contrast, what it's doing is actually increasing the highlights in the highlights area, and it crushes the shadow in the shadow area. This is what it's doing to increase the contrast. And remember, we are not affecting those shadows because we excluded them. We have masked, and we are working only on the area that we want to work on. You can achieve basically the same thing by just dragging down the shadows, but don't overdo it. The bottom of the lake here is actually quite interesting. You can see the rocks, and it has nice brownish color. So I actually quite like it. Another thing that we can do to maybe make those things pop a bit more is if we go back to the main adjustment and we go back to the color mixer, we can grab the reds and we can make them lighter. And let's see what will happen. Really? Nothing? That is very surprising to me. There should be quite a lot of red here. Interesting. Well, I was hoping that will work, but it looks like it won't. So anyways, we can go back to the filters. We can grab another water mask, and then we can remove the waterfall and just work here. So what we'll do is another landscape. Again, water, create. And now you can say subtract and select the brush. And so I'll make it a bit bigger, and I'll just make this go away. So I'm deselecting it right now. Just need to be careful when we go down there to not deselect what we want. So that should be fine. And now maybe what we want to do is bring back a bit of the shadows here. So it looks nicer. And maybe just a touch of exposure, just 0.05. And then here specifically, we can actually increase the temperature. And this will make it, yeah, you see, just let's make sure we don't overdo it. So I don't want it to be significantly different than the rest of the image. Otherwise it looks weird. But it is +10. Keep in mind that's the name of the game here. We do small adjustments. We don't overdo stuff because otherwise they look terrible. And again, looking before and after, I would say that's quite good. We have a couple of tricks more that we can do though. So it needs a second to apply the changes. That annoys me. That annoys me a lot. Can we do something about it? Well, probably we can. So I will select the lasso tool. And what I'll do is not very well. I will just select, and I'm intentionally not doing it very well. I'm leaving quite a bit of space. You'll see why in a second. So something like that. We just want to select this. And now we have a pop-up here, and it's the famous AI that we all love. If you don't know me, I really, really hate AI. But this is one of the really good examples why it's useful. And for this, I have no beef with. If we just click generative fill, it will ask you for a prompt. So you can type anything. You can type a space shuttle if you want, and it will try to put the space shuttle within your selection. But if you leave it empty and you just hit generate, we give it a bit of time because it needs to go to the clouds to cry for a bit and then get an output. We will wait and wait a bit more. And here we go. So I don't know if you noticed, but this is what happened. So you can see that it didn't do a very accurate job. So you can clearly see that there was this green moss here that completely disappeared. And this is bad because it does this, but both of those are very legit. And I would go as far as to say that this one is very legit. And you're probably wondering why I left this here. Well, it's not annoying. It's not a distraction in a way the big branch was. So for me, this is perfectly acceptable. I do not consider this, I don't know, screwing up the picture. We were able to do those kind of things before the AI existed. It just took horrendously long time to copy pixel per pixel, basically. Now you can just do it with a click. Great, it saves work. So if you missed what just happened, is that we went from this to this in 10 minutes while I'm fumbling around because I'm recording and I'm terrible at this. It actually literally takes 5 minutes. So is it a picture that I would print and hang on my wall? No, it isn't. Is it a picture that is nice to look at? I think so. So I consider this a win. But again, remember, we are failing correctly. So, A, pictures have been made, and the result again is a bonus. It doesn't really matter. Nice people have been met. We exchange contacts. I actually asked them if they mind if I use Christina picture that I made for this video, and you will see in a second. I will put the picture that I edited and how it looks. I think it was that one, by the way. You will see the end result in a second here. I came home well tired. I was relaxed. I had a lot of stress lately, and this helped me immensely. And funny enough, recording of this video is also helping. So if you somehow manage to get to these parts, like, kudos to you, that's insane. Thank you for watching, and if anyone has any interest, I can do other things like that where we discuss either different types of photography or how you do certain things. But I just realized at the end of the video that I didn't I didn't touch on the main point. And the main point is, why is this picture so important to me? Why does it look so different from other pictures, if you want, that you see of waterfalls? And this is a very nice trick that you can do with a camera that it's literally impossible to do any other way. Our brains are used to process stuff in the time as a continuous, time is a continuous thing, right? And you are just experiencing it flowing. And when you see images, most images that everyone considers snap images. They're not photography. They're just you pulling out a phone and you're doing an image. That freezes time, and that freezes a very small segment of time. So normally you do a picture will be, I don't know, 1/100 of a second or 1/200 of a second or something like that. So that's a very small amount of time. And this is what our brains are used to. What our brains are not used to is to capture a 1 minute period of time and present it as a single image. This is not something we are used to. And this is why it's striking, because you're seeing those are just bubbles, right? Those are just small little bubbles that are flowing on top of the water because you know that the water is crashing down. It makes bubbles, they float down and they pop. And you can actually see them here. But while capturing at that extreme long shutter speeds, that one single bubble is everywhere. It's both here and anywhere in between. And it makes those really nice streaks. And that's actually pollution right here. That's a really nasty foam. So that's not okay. But because of the debit of the water that is flowing, it's flowing a lot faster in the middle than what it does here, and it tends to swirl before it goes down. So this is what we are capturing, and it just when you see something that you're not used to seeing, long story short, you tend to look at it and say, "Oh, how did that happen?" And when I am doing photography, this is what I'm trying to do every time, is to show something that is not easily seen. It's not a mass experience. Even if I'm at a location where 1 million people have been and it's been shot 1 million times, I'm trying to present a different view of that location. And if you want to do photography, this is the one thing I can tell you is just always try to don't copy the same picture that 1,000 other people have made. Try to do something different. Try to be original, because that has value, and that is what brings you the most joy. When I go into Google, right? If I click on the pictures of this place, and like I start looking at it, and those are all right. Somebody picked up the phone, and that's not a bad thing. I do a lot of pictures with my phone, but come on, do we have more? Yeah, like this is what you'll mostly see, right? When people go to a waterfall, they'll do that, and that's fine. I mean, whatever floats your boat. But you look at that, and you look at this, and you know, I think there is a difference. So, anyways, I hope you learned something. And if anyone at all sees this, please do tell me what you think, because I'm kind of curious. Thank you.